Turquoise Horse by Gerald Hosman. Some years ago, in Navajo country, there was a girl named Lisa Totachine, whose father was a silversmith. When Lisa was 12 years old, she had a dream in which she chased a horse. She was on foot in the dream, and the horse raced ahead of her, dancing on small, delicate hooves. The dream came again and again. During the day, Lisa did not think about the dream, nor did she mention it to anyone. But at night, before she went to sleep, she remembered the horse, and it made her sad to think about that though she saw the horse every night, her dream was always in black and white. There came a night when the dream changed into color. Lisa was running along a narrow trail upon a vast mesa, and the horse was ahead of her, its mane flashing in the wind, its forehoofs striking sparks on the hard-packed earth. When it happened, she was not surprised but pleased. The horse reared magnificently on a rock outcropping, and then, in a blaze of blue, it transformed into a turquoise horse. The moment this happened, Lisa knew she was in a dream, because in real life, there is no such thing as blue horses. And then the horse did a wonderful thing. Rearing over the verge, it suddenly leaped into the open, empty air, and pawing miraculously, found its footing in the sky. Then it whinnied triumphantly and galloped off across the clouds. The next morning, Lisa went to where her father worked on his jewelry behind their hogan. In the warm seasons, summer and fall, he usually did his work under a four-post juniper shelter, the upper latias, which were spindly bark-peeled branches. Shadows fell in clean lines at his feet. He worked in the cool of this outdoor workshop until little by little the sun grew bolder and stole all the way into the shadow of the shelter. Lisa liked to watch her father work. His composure seemed cast of the same fire-blackened silver as his bracelets, rings, and pins. He was a man of mud and fire, blood and bone, whose surface was etched and hammered by years of sun and rain. He knew what it meant to make a mold and what it meant as a grown man to have been molded by nature. Lisa knew that her father was wise. She also knew that he was certain of old ways that had been taught to him by his own father. From father to son, to mother to daughter, the teachings came down year after year, sun after moon. "Father," Lisa said, "I have a dream to tell you." She waited while he removed a casting from the hot coals before which, holding iron tongs and a pair of heavy cowhide gloves, he sat back on the heels of his elk moccasins. "Yes," he said finally. "Tell me your dream." "There is a horse. I run after it, but I can never catch it. Mostly the horse is dark because I dreamed this dream in black and white. But last night, for the first time, the horse looked me in the eyes. I heard it snort loudly before it turned turquoise and galloped away into the clouds. Father, I need to know what this dream means, for I have it every night." Lisa's father said nothing, nor did he look into his daughter's worried face. He bent over his tufa casting and tapped it with a little hammer. Lisa knew that her father was not ignoring her. He was not, as it appeared, concentrating only on his work. He was, she knew, thinking deeply about what she had told him. Then he got slowly to his feet and stretched his arms. "You get stiff in that position," he said. Then, "Come with me for a moment, Lisa." Together they walked on the dry wash just below where her father worked. A little ribbon of water, sky-colored, shivered between the clay banks that rose above their shoulders. After walking for a few minutes, her father stopped. "I think it was here," he said. "Yes, I'm certain of it, here." "What?" Lisa asked. "I was your age, maybe a little younger when I made the discovery. Do you see where the water runs down from high up on the hill? Where there is now a dry scar on that cliff?" Lisa nodded. In rainy times, such soft eroded places sang full-throated with tumbling water. If you were not careful, when the water ran at its fullest, you could be swept to your death. "When I was your age," Lisa's father began, "I was caught in one of those sudden storms. The whole hillside seemed to come down on my head. I got swept away. A big juniper branch saved my life. I held on to it for all I was worth. When my grandfather pulled me to safety, we both stopped in our tracks, for directly in front of us was a ruined grave, one that the wild waters had ripped apart. There was silver everywhere, for as you know, my dear possessions of the dead are buried with the body. Lisa's father turned on his moccasined heel and began to walk back to his workshop on the hill above the arroyo. What does this mean, Father? She asked. In all that silver, there was a bracelet that even now, after all the years, I remember as if it were yesterday. The silversmith had made the bracelet 100 years ago. And yet, it was as new as the day he measured the wrist that wore it, a wrist that was once flesh and bone, a wrist that is now dust. What did you do with the bracelet? Looking at his daughter for the first time, Lisa's father smiled a little crookedly. She knew what that meant. Trouble. A lesson. She had said something wrong. You know, it is a bad thing to disturb the sacred places of burial. I did nothing with the bracelet. I merely looked at it. I looked at it with my eyes for a moment and held it there. Then my grandfather and I walked on and we erased that place from our memory. It is only now, as you told me of your dream, that I remembered. That gravesite, Lisa said, was ruined in the rain. You didn't know where the real location of the grave was, only where the jewelry turned up at your feet. That is right. Then why couldn't you take it and give it a proper home? Otherwise it could have been taken by someone less than yourself, a thief perhaps. To take which does not belong to you, no matter the circumstances, is a bad thing. Let the runner run, the walker walk, the thief thieve. You can't change that which is the rain, the runoff, the broken grave. We didn't touch that silver work. Perhaps it's still there, perhaps not. It doesn't matter. What is important is that we saw the bracelet with our eyes. We embraced it. From that moment on, I knew I would be a silversmith. But how did you know? I knew because I understood, having almost drowned, that only those things which live are worth living for. Lisa said, I understand now. There is something else, her father said, kneeling before his dwindling fire. The thing that made the bracelet so beautiful was the turquoise horse that decorated it. I've never forgotten that horse that seemed to be dancing on a cloud. Lisa waited for him to say something more, but he busied himself with his casting. That night, Lisa dreamt the dream of the turquoise horse, and again she saw it in color. This time the horse danced upon a cloud, just as her father had said, and it beckoned her to follow. She was afraid. Backing away from the edge of the great cliff where the horse had taken its swift leap into the air, she felt fear in her throat. I can't come with you, she said to the horse. I can't walk on air. Then the horse galloped to the mesa, and kneeling as her father had knelt before the fire, it bowed its head. Lisa had only to take one step, and she would be on its back. She hesitated, and then heard the voice that came from the clouds. The voice said, The turquoise horse is yours now. It was a command, and Lisa obeyed. The horse got to its feet, and in one graceful bound, tossing its neck to the east, it dropped off the cliff like falling water. Then it flailed its hooves in the air, parted the clouds, aimed up in the sky. Lisa clung to the horse's mane, but she did not feel fearful. Easily, dreamily, like flowing silk, she let the horse have its head, and the horse plunged higher into the cliffs of the cloud and was swallowed up. Then she felt her body melt as the vapors wrapped her round, and the voice of the cloud person spoke again. Lisa could see nothing.